It is Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That is Wade Neely. We're coming to you. That is not Zebo, by the way. That is actually Wade Neely. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes, and proud to be with you here on this Wednesday afternoon. We'll be here for the next couple of hours talking local, regional, and national sports, including the Memphis Grizzlies, who open their NBA season tonight against the Utah Jazz on the road. I'm sure we'll be talking more about that and Wade's jersey here over the next couple of hours, in addition to speaking with Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City in our second hour as we talk a little NASCAR. They ran Vegas this past weekend. They go to Homestead this coming weekend as the field of 8 continues. And some interesting news off the track that I'm excited to talk to Heather about when we get her on later in the show. We'll get more into that later in the show. In the next segment, we will be joined by Ann Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio. And fortunately, we get to discuss a Nashville Predators victory with Ann. So looking forward to that as well. We'll be talking some Titans. I woke up, I've got a text chain with a couple of longtime friends, and woke up and saw D-Hop to KC. So got smacked in the face with that first thing in the morning while I still had the sleep nuts in my eyes. But I guess the fire sale has begun with the Titans. There's been a second move made since then as well, and it sounds as if the Titans aren't the only ones looking to move people. So we'll be talking more about that later in the show. We'll talk about fathers and sons playing together. We had a historic event last night on opening night of the National Basketball Association. There's another firing in the WNBA. We'll get to that as well. We got a lot to get to. And again, it is Wild and Wacky Wednesday. Wade and I will close the show with the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. And it's, as always, it delivers. So looking forward to that. Wade, is that a recent Grizzlies jersey, or is that a throwback that got worn a day early? What are we doing here?
No, this is this is city jersey from last year. The 3-6 Mafia, and it's it's Mr. Morant. He's back. He's healthy, healthy-ish, and for that we are thankful.
Without question. Try to keep everybody as healthy as we can for as long as we can, because obviously that was not the case for the 2023-24 season for the Grizzlies. And if they're healthy, they got a shot to do some damage or, make some people uncomfortable at any rate. So hopefully Ja and his counterparts can avoid the injured list or whatever it is in the NBA nowadays. So
yeah, they got Jaren Jackson. He's already out for tonight, but if he's only going to miss a game or two at the beginning, you'll take that as opposed to prolonged absence. So we'll
certainly.
See. And Big Edie's going to crush somebody tonight on the court. So that is what I'm most excited about. Someone is going to get flattened. They'll throw a flag for unnecessary roughness. And the fans in Utah might throw debris on the court. They might not overturn this one,
though. That might be worth the price of admission in and of itself. Just waiting to see Zach Edey crush somebody, either on a pick or following through on a block attempt or something, because he is not a small individual. So
he's going to crush somebody a couple times at the top of the key. Morant's going to throw one home. And then if not, they went to him in the post a lot in the preseason. I mean, he's just flushing on folks. So vibes are high right now, which means they probably will lose to Utah, but it's a long season. Not everybody can go 82-0 like the Lakers and Celtics.
Well, yeah, and they may lose, but it'll be exciting at any rate.
We'll have fun either way.
That's it. So yeah, That's kind of what we're looking like here for the next couple of hours. Let's go ahead and jump into it with yesterday's results and today's slender schedule on the rundown.
This is the Rundown.
To the rundown we go. We open up with Tuesday volleyball action from the state tournament, and Briarcrest Christian was a 3-1 winner versus Father Ryan. Same score in favor of Collierville, who knocked off Brentwood 3-1. It was 3-0 Creekwood over Soddy Daisy. Valor Collegiate with a 3-0 win versus Crockett County. Baylor and Father Ryan go to 5 sets. Baylor wins that one 3-2. Same script there for Lipscomb Academy versus Baylor, as Lipscomb Academy wins it 3-2. Loretto opened up their state tournament bid with a 3-0 win versus CSAS. It was Goodpasture 3, Middle Tennessee Christian 2. Nolensville 3-0 over Blackman. It was BGA 3-0 over North Point Christian, and East Robertson defeated Summertown 3-1.
Let's see. Continuing with hockey from last night, as we mentioned, the Nashville Predators on home ice defeat the Boston Bruins 4-0. That was the only other score that we had yesterday. Heading into today's activity, we have Nolensville defeating Houston 3-0 in state volleyball action. Also, Valor Collegiate with a 3-1 win over Creekwood. Lipscomb defeated Briarcrest Christian 3-0. What else do we have here? Loretto with a 3-0 win over South Green. It was Battleground Academy blanking Goodpasture 3-0. East Robertson with a 3-1 win over Sale Creek. And I think that gets us up to date. Later on at 2:30, Summertown takes on Gibson County. Also at 2:30, it's Farragut and Blackman, and Brentwood faces East Hamilton at 5. In girls soccer action so far today, Houston with a 5-0 win against Oakland. Liberty Creek and Merrill Hyde are in progress. Ditto for Franklin and Science Hill, and Valor Collegiate and Station Camp. At 4, Page takes on Collierville, and at 6:30, it's Bearden and Siegel. And in college football action this evening, 6:30 kickoff on ESPN2. Middle Tennessee State goes to Jacksonville State, and it's an 8:00 tip out in Salt Lake City as the Memphis Grizzlies take on the Utah Jazz. You can see that one on FanDuel Sports Southeast. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you as always by Piggly Wiggly and Neely's Mill in Murfreesboro. Goodness gracious. Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check on their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And last night, news came out that Fernando Valenzuela, we had reported, I guess, a week, 10 days ago, that he was stepping away from his Spanish radio broadcast duties for the Los Angeles Dodgers to focus on his health. Well, he passed away last night at the age of 63. And, you know, an entire generation, I guess, is familiar with him for his work on the Dodgers Spanish radio broadcast. But this guy was a dude. He was a rookie in 1981 with the Dodgers, won his first 8 starts, 7 of those complete games, 5 of those shutouts, 68 strikeouts in 72 innings with 4 earned runs total. And Fernando Mania just erupted. And it's unfortunate that we didn't have, ESPN and social media and all that other stuff then, because I mean, he would have exponentially been a star over what he was. You had to wait on, the local news updates or the next day's newspaper, or 2 days later, I guess, when they were on the West Coast to see what he had done. But man, he was just electric over that start, and it just continued to follow him throughout his career. In 1981, he was the National League Rookie of the Year, the National League Cy Young winner. He won a Silver Slugger Award, and he helped the Dodgers to the World Series championship that year. I mean, he probably could have retired right then.
Mm-hmm.
But went on to pitch through 1997. I think his final year with the Dodgers was maybe 1990. And then he kind of knocked around through baseball from there. He threw a no-hitter in his final season with the Dodgers against St. Louis. From 1991 to 97, he was with the Angels, Orioles, Phillies, Padres, and Cardinals before retiring. But, I mean, from 81 to 86, he had an ERA of 2.97, 84 complete games over that 6 years, 26 shutouts. I mean, nobody's putting up those kind of numbers anymore. Came back to the Dodgers in 2003 on their Spanish language radio team, and continued that until, just a few weeks ago, basically. So,
man, yes, sad loss for not just the Dodgers, but also obviously the entire sport and an entire country. Most likely the greatest player to ever come out of Mexico. And Fernando Mania, didn't get to see him certainly at his height, but just heard all the stories and just how awesome he was and kind of what he was capable of doing. And to kind of your point, I mean, he was that – you're never going to see this again. I mean, throwing nearly 150 pitches in a World Series game to help the Dodgers back in the day. So, I mean, he kind of just transcended, and his impact, it was very, very cool and very special to know that he was still even giving back right until, his passing. Was still with the team in that Spanish broadcasting capacity as recently as a couple of weeks ago. So a perennial Dodger, forever a Dodger, and forever one of the greats that has now left us.
Absolutely. Not this past season, but in 2023, his number 34 was retired by the Dodgers. His number 34 has been retired throughout the Mexican Baseball League. They did that back in 2019, and his statue is part of the baseball stadium in Guadalajara in Mexico. So, I mean, again, revered in that country as well. He was on the Hall of Fame ballot in 2003, received 6.2% of the votes, fell off the following year after receiving less than 5% of the vote. You got to wonder if one of those committees that handles, contemporaries and that kind of thing will take a harder look at him at some point. Career record of 173, 153. 2,074 strikeouts and a 3.54 ERA, again, from 1980, where he made a handful of starts until he retired in 1997. So, again, Fernando Valenzuela has passed away at the age of 63. And, it's kind of, I don't know if ironic is the right word, but, with the Dodgers getting ready to play the Yankees in the World Series, it'll be their first meeting in the Fall Classic since that 1981 season. And I'm sure that there will be plenty of mention and plenty of, recognition of Fernando Valenzuela throughout the course of that World Series that starts up on Friday out in LA. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we return to the Lee Company studios, we'll be chatting with Ann Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio, talking about a rarity, a Nashville Predators victory. Stay tuned when we come back after this. Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
Step into the Lionel retail store at Opry Mills, Nashville, and you'll be captivated by all the magic of the 123-year history of Lionel trains. Whether you're already a train enthusiast or just getting started, Lionel will energize your love for trains. NASCAR fan? Come check out your local Lionel station to learn all there is to know about model trains and die-cast NASCAR collectibles. Visit nashville.lionel.com or call 615-455-9399.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
He shoots, and he scores!
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. Wade Neely is experiencing some technical difficulties. We hope to get him back during this segment because I'm sure he is as excited as I am to visit with Ann Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio as the Nashville Predators finally cracked into the win column last night with a 4-0 victory at Bridgestone Arena against the visiting Boston Bruins. Ann, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Doing well, thanks. I'll be doing better when my partner gets back here in a bit, and hopefully he will, because like I said, we're both pretty excited about the Preds finally picking up that victory. They can't go 82-0, but they can certainly go 77-5 now, I guess, right?
I will tell you, I like the way you're looking at it, and it was really starting to feel more than just a little uncomfortable as they sat there with an 0-5 start to a season in which the expectations were through the roof for this team. So not only was it a tough 0-5 start, I think it was just a shock to the system for a team that we really expected to come out of the gate hot, and they did not.
They did not. Coming onto the ice last night, the Nashville Predators were the only team in the National Hockey League to not have a point.
Yes. Yeah.
So all 5 of their losses had been in regulation. So again, nice to pick up a couple last night.
Yeah, very important, I think, for the points for sure. You can't dig yourself too big of a hole at the beginning of the season and then just bank on getting your way out of that. But you also just mentally, this team
Mhm.
needed to get this first win. They absolutely were feeling the weight of that 0-5 start. They were feeling frustration. There was a lot of angst in the locker room, I would say.
Yeah.
And so getting that first win, I think really was the first time the Predators team has felt like they could exhale since this season kicked off. It's just been a tough go until last night.
And it feels like it kind of happened on both ends of the ice. UC with 33 saves and, four different players scoring for the Preds.
Yeah, that's exactly how you want to get a win. You need everybody playing really well, which is something that we haven't seen in those first 5 games. But, you had a goal on the power play, which is something the Predators want to generate. But they also got some goals at 5-on-5, which have been hard to come by in these first 5 games. You had a great performance by UC Saros. That was what we love to call vintage Saros. And the defense in front of him played very, very well too. So this was exactly what you need from this Predators team to be successful. You need everybody playing at their best, on both ends of the ice to be able to get a win. It's hard to win in this league. There are no easy games in this league. So this is what Nashville has to do if they want to dig themselves out of this hole.
You talk about the defense in front of Saros. I mean, he only saw 33 shots. Nashville got 42 shots off. So you feel pretty good about the fact that they were limiting shots on Boston's part and put the puck on the net quite a bit last night.
It's so interesting. They've actually put a lot of shots on goal through those first 5 losses, but we're hitting the post or we're putting them right in the goaltender's chest, and they weren't getting those second and third chances. And those second and third chances, those kind of greasy goals, kind of the ugly, no highlight reel goals, those are the ones that are going to win you hockey games. And Nashville has not been generating those second and third chances. So while they were getting these really nice looking first shots, it's those second and third ones that really help you win a game. And we saw Nashville pursue the puck better last night to kind of put those goals in the net. And like you said, you just have to get some shots to the net, get traffic to the net, and see if you can move or confuse a goaltender.
And I'm curious, and sorry for hopping in late, everybody. We're squared away now, but and I'm curious, for a team that was in such desperate need of a win, just to kind of get things going. Um, how impressive or how good do the guys got to feel knowing that you beat one of the top teams, not just in the East, but in the entire NHL last night?
Absolutely true. I think this win is important, not just because finally they got a win, but I think it matters that they beat Boston. Boston is going to be, bar some sort of bizarre outcome, they're going to be a tough playoff team. And Nashville being able to get a win like this against a playoff team, against a team that could very seriously be a cup contender, a perennial powerhouse like Boston, that really carries a lot. I think that not only gets sort of the pressure of that first win off your back, but it also shows this Nashville locker room we can compete. We can compete if we do the right things with consistency. We are a team that can compete. And they were able to sort of translate that on paper roster and potential into beating a really good team in the league. And that matters.
They didn't
Yeah,
just beat a they didn't just beat a really good team, but they beat a really good goalie. Jeremy Swayman has pretty much owned the Preds at Bridgestone. Coming into last night, he had blanked them in each of his other 2 starts against them at Bridgestone.
He is like the goaltending Leon Draisaitl, like just that person that just always wants to stick it to the Nashville Predators. He's earned a nice payday, and rightfully so. Jeremy Swayman is going to be key to Boston's success in the postseason. He's going to be a key piece for them making a deep cup run. And for Nashville to be able to score on him, that really is an impressive thing. That is a huge confidence boost for a team that was in desperate need of some confidence on the ice.
and now you get ready. Presumably the vibes kind of carry over. We talked yesterday and earlier in the week about Chicago, and you know, In many respects, yeah, team, you can't overlook anybody at this point if you're Nashville, but it also has got to be a little comforting knowing you beat a really good team in Boston. You have a team that's certainly capable of being beaten in Chicago on Friday.
Absolutely. And you want this win. You need this divisional win against Chicago, who is, by the way, ahead of the Predators in the standings in the Central Division. So these are two very important points. I do think you're right. I think it's great that you get this win against Chicago. Now take it on the road and see what you can do against a Blackhawks team that I don't think a lot of people are predicting to be a postseason team. They're working their way back to that, but aren't there yet. So can Nashville carry the style of play and the performance that they had against Boston, against Chicago, and not fall into the mental trap of, well, we don't have to work quite so hard now because we got that first win and Chicago is not as good as Boston on paper. They really have to not only play well on the ice, but they've got to have a sharp mental game. And this 5-game losing streak has been a real mental challenge for this team to work through at the start of the season.
And Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. And again, there were some parallels that could be drawn between the Predators' offseason acquisitions and the impact that they would have coming into this season, and the Tennessee Titans offseason acquisitions and the impact they would have coming into the season. And one of the things that we heard early on with the Titans was that these guys needed some time in game situations to kind of develop that chemistry and that kind of thing. And I would imagine that that's similar with the Predators. Do we see that chemistry starting to develop? Was last night a function of that, or was it just that they weren't going to go 0-82?
Well, hopefully it's that they were committed to not going 0-82. But when it comes to working Brady Shea, Steven Stamkos, and Jonathan Marchessault into Nashville's system and kind of getting them up to speed, they definitely need time. We're seeing that chemistry develop. We're seeing that timing develop. But you have to remember, they have been playing for a long period of time in NHL hockey years with different organizations. So their natural inclinations aren't necessarily Andrew Brunette's system. So you're going to need time for them to kind of get up to speed. I think the problem in those initial 5 games came because that's okay to need time for Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault and Brady Shea to build chemistry if the rest of the team carries the performance and sets the standard and plays to the standard that this team needed. And the rest of the team didn't do it. And so that, I think, was what was so scary. Is it wasn't that, wow, Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault can't contribute. It's that, hey, all these players that we know can be successful in this system aren't successful right now in the system. I think getting this win, seeing the chemistry, seeing the communication with this team, seeing them work through this really rough start, I think that's going to carry a lot for the regulars on the team. But I also think it's going to buy time for Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault because there's pressure on them to step up. They need a little bit more time. If the Predators can play like they did last night in these next couple of games, that gives some breathing room for the new guys.
And jumping out from Preds land real quick, I'm assuming you did not watch all 32 teams in action yesterday as part of the Frozen Frenzy, but I am curious, with all 32 teams playing yesterday, and maybe through thus far of the season, who's kind of jumping out to you as maybe the Preds kind of maybe a disappointment or a shock in a negative aspect, but who's maybe been a positive kind of surprise or head scratcher in your mind?
I didn't get a chance to watch all 16 games, but that literally would be me living my best life.
I mean, I'm picturing you with all the screens and just
I would
absorbing
love
it
that.
night.
I would love that. I didn't quite get a chance to do that. For me, I think the biggest surprise team and the team that I'm most excited about, which is unfortunate because they're in our division, is Utah, the Utah Hockey Club. And, you knew this was a team with talent on the roster. Even last season in Arizona, they were a great team. We love Connor Ingram, former Nashville Predator. He's now the goaltender for, he was in Arizona, now for Utah. They've got some great veterans. They've got young players coming up. But I'm telling you, Utah is just going on vibes. There is an energy with that team. There is a fearlessness with them. I don't know how much of that is, a new environment, a new location. And it was cute. But as you really watch their games, even just this far into the season, you have to sit back and say, no, wait a minute. While this may be like, oh, look at the fun new start in a new location, this is a team that's serious. So for me, Utah, and I hate to say I enjoy watching them because Nashville needs them to not perform well, but they are a good team to watch.
Got 9 points already.
Yes, they could share some of those.
Yeah, no doubt. And we talked yesterday to John Glennon of the Nashville Post, who covers the Predators as well as the Titans, and he mentioned that one thing he was going to keep an eye on last night, should he actually get to the was John there last night?
Actually, I didn't. I was actually not at the game. I was one of the few games I was not in person at. I did watch it from home.
Okay. Did Zach Leroux play?
Yes,
last night?
he did. 21-year-old Zachary Leroux. This is a young, scrappy forward who has caused a ruckus when he played in the QMJHL in Canada, came into the AHL last year and just matured on and off the ice in his game. Now he is spice. And the Predators were saying, we need a spark to this team. Zachary Leroux is lighter fluid. He's not spice. He's not a spark. He's lighter fluid. And this kid came in at 21 years old, played his first NHL game. He had 1 shot on goal. He had 4 hits, but he is a puck hunter. And he is afraid of no one and nothing, and came in and played a really fantastic NHL debut game. And what was best about it is he played his game and he didn't try to do too much. He came in and was exactly who he was in the AHL, and that translated very well against a really tough, talented Boston team as well. So that was such a highlight, I think, for a lot of people. We've been waiting to see Zach Leroux here.
Let me ask you, because I'm just not as familiar with hockey in terms of the physicality and that kind of thing as I probably should be. He's listed at 5'11", 197. When you say he's not scared of anybody, I mean, how does that measure up in terms of physical stature across this league?
I will say this, hockey heights are estimations, quite like women's driver's license. So he's not a super big guy, but he does play just a physical game. He is so tenacious and he doesn't waste that physicality. Last night he wasn't trying to hit anything. He was very strategic in when he would check someone. He was very strategic in how he would go up against the boards to try to get a puck back for the Predators. And he did a great job of that, just hounding pucks. And he gave a spark to that fourth line of Michael McCarron, who really is about 6'5", and to Cole Smith, another big guy, and really kind of got them back to that tenacious, physical, annoying puck hunting line that Nashville relied on so much last season.
Feel like he's going to be around for a while then?
I hope so. He is young, and I'm a big fan of a slow burn. I love that he's here. I think he'll probably stay a little while. If he goes back to Milwaukee, it won't be a statement about his performance or his readiness. It may simply be a lineup change and to give him a little bit more time to grow here and there in the AHL. But he is a name that Nashville Predators fans will know, whether it is continuously this season or in the next couple seasons to come.
And real quick, I wanted to ask you, how do the Preds sit injury-wise right now? As far as big injuries, are there bumps and bruises? Kind of where do they sit overall in your mind?
Even 6 games in, I'm sure there are some bumps and bruises. They're very fortunate. We've seen a couple of major injuries already for other players on other teams in the NHL. Right now, Nashville is doing really well. Any of the players who weren't playing in last night's game were healthy scratches. So as far as injuries go, Nashville's in a good spot.
And KIMMEL of Penalty Box Radio joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, the Predators coming off of a 4-0 victory last night over Boston, their first of the season. They go to Chicago Friday night and then come back home. Quick turnaround. They've got
Yes.
Columbus coming in here Saturday night before they go to Tampa Bay on Monday. Jeez.
Yeah.
Who made
And
this
that Tampa
schedule?
Bay game is going to be high emotion. It'll be the return of Steven Stamkos back to Tampa Bay. So there's going to be a lot of the feels going on the road to Tampa Bay. And then they come back and play Edmonton just for fun. Tough schedule.
Seven game series basically versus Edmonton to start the year, feels like.
Yeah, it does. We're very
with
familiar.
Detroit mixed in.
Yes. Very familiar. Yeah.
3 games in 4 days. And I mean, how common is that?
It happens periodically in the season, but it is tough. I mean, that is very demanding. And you add in the travel. Fortunately, right now, the travel to Chicago, not terrible. It's not like they have to go to Vancouver, but it is a tough turnaround for these players. I will say that the coaching staff does a really great job as far as managing practice time. Oftentimes, if they have that kind of a schedule, they'll cancel a practice and just do, meetings and video work and kind of give a little bit of extra recovery time when they have a tight schedule like that.
Quick question. Have we seen Scott Wedgwood since Dallas?
We have not seen Scott Wedgwood since Dallas. We will see him likely this weekend with the back-to-backs. Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was wondering. And I wonder, the Blackhawks being who they are, would that be an opportunity to put him out there?
That is, if Andrew Burnett calls me, that's what I'm going to tell him. I would play Wedgwood against Chicago and then come home and have Saros in net at home. Home ice is supposed to be an advantage, but I think because there's so much pressure for the Predators this season, it's been a tough sledding on home ice at Bridgestone Arena. I would stick Saros in net at home on that back-to-back.
You certainly wouldn't expect to see him in all 3 of those games over the 4-day period, would you?
I would not. I would not.
So if Wedgwood is going to play at some point, it would feel like Friday night would be the night, right?
For matchups, I would say Friday night. Now, they may opt to do Saros Friday night, give him Saturday night off, and then have him go ahead and play on Monday night. We'll see. Saros he said he's feeling really good. It's early in the season, and they really are desperate for wins. So we'll see. I think they'll lean more towards best matchup than they will how much rest does he need.
There we go. Ann Kimmel of Penalty Box Radio joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. As always, Ann, we appreciate you spending some time with us and look forward to catching up with you again soon. Hopefully after another win. Maybe they can string a few together now.
This would be a really great idea. I think they definitely should do that.
Tell them we said that they should do that.
Yeah, pass that on, please.
I'll pass that on. I'll let them know.
Thank you, Ann. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
All right. Hey, when we continue on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll talk a little NFL. We'll talk a little Titans. Seems to be a lot going on. So stay tuned when we return to the Lee Company studios after this.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
So Busy Bee is a very close-knit family. We fight just like every family does. We have arguments, but we always come out with a solution to the problems. We don't just fight about what we want, we fight about what customers need. We want to make sure that every customer we go to is more than satisfied. And that doesn't just start whenever we show up at their door, that starts when we show up every day at work. We want to make sure that we are serving our customers to the best of our ability.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com. Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. That's Wade Neely. I'm Maurice Patton. We're coming to you from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. And in the final segment of the day, Wade and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. So please stay tuned for that. It was, like I said, pretty wild and wacky morning, but not really a surprise if you were watching Sunday's Titans-Bills matchup, where DeAndre Hopkins looked like a healthy scratch for the second half of that ball game. And as the gears started to turn, it's like, have they already, kind of made a decision, made a move with him? Well, we don't know the timing of the trade, but DeAndre Hopkins is a Kansas City Chief as of this morning. And, I'm not mad about it, because he's a veteran receiver who can go and help a team that has won, 2 straight Super Bowls and looking primed for a third. Go get you a ring, man. And kudos to the Titans for helping him do that, because he certainly wasn't going to get one here.
Yeah, as far as Nuke, he was only in town for a short time, but he really embraced the city of Nashville and had a great season last year. Didn't get off to a fast start this year, but a lot of Titans have not gotten off to a fast start this year. So
not necessarily through any fault of their own. By the way.
Yeah. I mean, the guys are all playing hard, and they're all professionals. They're trying their best, but it just hasn't panned out. And dealt with the hamstring injury, coming in the final few weeks of camp, and then was a slow start. But you can still see he's got some gas, and so the Titans were able to get a little something for him. We talked on the show yesterday that the 49ers and Bucks were certainly going to be in the market for a wide receiver, but the Chiefs, perhaps more than ever in their history, as Mahomes having his worst season by far, with more interceptions than he has touchdowns. He now finally has a competent receiver, because he was really playing with a scrap heap at the wideout position these last few weeks. And so kind of a win-win for everybody. The Titans pick up a little draft capital, could get even better than what they potentially bargained for. And it also feels like that probably won't be the last move we hear from the Titans in these next couple of weeks.
Well, it won't even be the last move we hear today, because Ernest Jones IV is also on the move. The linebacker who was acquired over the offseason is headed to Seattle as well. So, yeah, Rancarthon has his dealing shoes on, apparently.
Yeah, and Jones had played well. That was a sneaky good pickup that the Titans made late in the offseason, picking him up from the Rams. And his expiring contract, who knows if he would have returned. So the fact that you're able to wheel and deal him for not only a player but also a pick, two picks rather, the Titans kind of made out like bandits in that trade in the sense. If you chalk this season already up to a loss, which it pretty much is, so you're kind of in rebuild mode, and man, a good bit of business there. You send him on. The Seahawks get even better defensively, as that's kind of been their calling card, them and Geno. So it's kind of moving and shaking right now for the Titans as they've made deals with KC and now with Seattle.
Yeah, Jones 44 tackles through 6 games, so he'd been pretty productive over on that side of the ball. Yeah, for sure. Like you said, they get linebacker Jerome Baker back, so they fill the spot. Basically, they also get a pick, like you said. And the Titans, according to CBS Sports, were graded at a B for this move. And it's just wild how Kansas City seems to be able to go out and address whatever perceived shortcoming they may have. The receiver core gets a little thin. You go get a proven veteran like a DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, it's I don't want to say it's the rich getting richer because their core is a little depleted, but again, just going back to the draft when they got Xavier Worthy after trading for that pick with Buffalo, it's like they just have this knack for dealing with stuff.
Yeah, props to them for going out and making the move. But yeah, Worthy, we all remember obviously the reverse on the first night of the season where he looks like he's going to be a fantastic piece, and he may develop into a great wide receiver, but he is not a wide receiver number one. But currently, until Nuke arrived just a moment ago, he is the number one wide receiver with less than 200 yards receiving. So that tells you you kind of had a gadget guy as your top receiver with Juju being out, obviously with Rashee Rice being out. I mean, they were really, really thin with Kelsey on the side of a milk carton in terms of his production compared to years past. I mean, it is really, really thin for the Chiefs. So in a weird way, their backs were kind of against the wall. And if you're the rest of the NFL, this should kind of scare you a little bit because the Chiefs they're the last undefeated team. And I mentioned Mahomes is having his worst season statistically at this point by far, and they're still undefeated. And now they're going out and kind of getting some help and kind of battening down the hatches a little bit.
Yeah. Receivers seem like they may be at a premium as we approach the trade deadline next week, and the Rams are seemingly shopping Cooper Kupp, who I think has only played in 2 games with an ankle injury, but apparently maybe the Rams are kind of cashing in their chips for 2024 as well.
Yeah, and which
can't make Matthew Stafford feel very good.
No, and they got decimated with injuries right at the start of the season, so their season kind of got sideways in a hurry, kind of like a few other teams in that division. But it sounds like the reports are indicating that the Chiefs reached out and wanted Kupp first, and they couldn't get the deal done. I think KC was not really willing to take on as much of the salary. It sounds like that potentially the Rams wanted them to. So how about talk about a beautiful pivot? You get to pivot from Kupp to Hopkins. So they end up in pretty good shape either way. And it sounds like after KC passes on Cooper Kupp, he will probably be on the move at some point in the next week.
Yeah, well, 2 things there. Apparently, the Rams want a second rounder for Kupp, and maybe Kansas City wasn't willing to go there. Excuse me. And, there's a little less tread on Hopkins's tires probably than there is on Kupp's, but it feels like the Titans are probably going to have to eat some of Hopkins's contract as part of this deal. So maybe from a financial standpoint, this was a little easier deal for Kansas City to make as well.
Seems like it. And some other names that we mentioned. The Bucks, obviously, the Chargers are potentially on the lookout for a receiver. Teams like the Steelers, and obviously we mentioned the 49ers earlier. So I don't know that they would necessarily trade him. Cup, that is, in the division.
Mm-hmm.
But it feels like he's going to be on the move. And man, it feels like there's been more trades of impact players this year than we've ever seen. The NFL trade deadline is usually all about filling those key one or two spots that are going to give you the depth maybe to make a run here or a run there. But we don't really, it seems like, get these impact players, these household names on the move like we've seen thus far.
Yeah. When is the deadline? The 5th? I think I saw it
early in November, or was it not the 31st?
No, it's not I don't think it's the 31st.
So early November, it seems like 2 weeks, I believe.
I think you're right. Yeah. Cleveland has announced that Jameis will get the start against Baltimore on Sunday in place of Deshaun Watson, who's out for the year with that ruptured Achilles tendon. So, it on one hand, it feels like it doesn't really matter because Cleveland's 1-6, but at the same time, particularly in that AFC North, if they get their quarterback situation somewhat addressed, and with Nick Chubb coming along for them, they may be able to, give somebody else some problems, if nothing else.
Yeah. Stefanski ain't winning back-to-back Coach of the Year awards, I don't think. And Joe Flacco's not walking through that door. They're not making this Cinderella run like they did last year. But, yeah, they could be a prime spoiler. And without Chubb those first few weeks, they really looked very inept offensively, especially given the quarterback woes like we mentioned. Winston, like we said yesterday, he's going to make something happen. And the Cleveland fans, from the jump, he has embraced them, and they have embraced him back. And so it'll be this weird kind of Frankenstein concoction for the next couple of weeks, and we'll see what happens. Because Cleveland's going to always good to upset somebody later in the year and you're like, how did we lose to the Browns? That'll be cue that up for later this season, guaranteed.
Yeah. Tua could be back this weekend for the Dolphins matchup with Arizona. If he is, he will not be wearing a Guardian cap for, as he stated, personal reasons. Now, this guy, it seems, might have the softest skull in the National Football League, coming back from yet another concussion, but for whatever reason, he's not going to wear the Guardian cap that reduces concussion risk by at least 10%, according to NFL Chief Medical Officer and friend of the show, Alan Sills, who will be with us on Friday, by the way. So, not sure exactly what his objections are to the Guardian cap. He was concussed twice in 2022, suffered another hit that looked like it would have induced a concussion that season, and then obviously the injury that he sustained earlier this year. So, man, I don't know what his family is saying to him. I don't know what the folks around him are saying to him, but here's what he's saying. Every time we all suit up, we're all taking a risk that we could potentially get hurt, whether it's a concussion, a broken bone, anything. You get up off your bed the wrong way, you potentially could risk spraining your ankle, but there's just risk in any and everything, and I'm willing to play the odds. I'm not ready to compare an ankle sprain and a concussion, but I'm not playing that game at that level either. So I don't know.
No, yeah, it's I suppose we shouldn't be shocked considering how few of the guys really are using the Guardian caps. But I think a lot of folks are surprised he's even returning this season. I think a lot of folks are surprised he's returning at all. So I guess with that being said, it should be no surprise that he's kind of going back to the traditional look here. And man, it is a scary deal. morbidly must-see TV every time he drops back because, man, it feels like eggshells every time back there with that guy.
It really does, man. And, it's almost tough to watch just because, the way his body reacted to that last one earlier this year was really hard to watch. I just don't know. I guess it's part of the sport and part of the risk, as he said. But man, it seems like to me, if there is a way to mitigate some of the risk, particularly when you have had the injuries that you have had, that you might, take a harder look at that. But at any rate, speaking of soft, we talked about first-year New England coach Gerard Mayo's assessment of his defense coming out of that loss to Jacksonville over in London on Sunday, and former Patriots coach Bill Belichick's defense of that defense. Cornerback Jonathan Jones spoke on a Boston area radio station Tuesday and said, the opposite of a soft team is a tough team, and we pride ourselves around here on being able to stop the run the ball, and cover kicks. If you look at our last game, we didn't do any of those. So while he didn't agree with the soft assessment, he said, I don't think we have any space to call ourselves a tough team based off our last performance. So, and he did kind of allow that the opposite of tough might be soft. So
tell me you're soft about saying you're soft type situation.
Yeah. Now
I love Belichick too, by the way. He's been pointing out, he's going on a couple podcasts. He went on Brady's podcast and basically said, hey, I mean, I said what I said, but also, we were number one against the run last year, which I find funny considering their record last year. But I mean, technically, I guess, yeah, they were number one against the run. And if you're going to talk about if you can pull a stat somehow to define toughness, being able to run the ball or stop the run would probably, I guess, maybe chalk it up to that. So kind of a fun little game of posturing from Evil Bill in the media here.
I'm just not sure what he stands to gain from taking the stance he's taking in this situation.
I mean, other than just being the permanent foil in Kraft forever, that relationship is dead and gone. And so, a chance maybe totally fine with me. Call Mayo on the side and say, hey, man, I got to say what I got to say, but it ain't about you. It's about sticking it to the big guy. And so maybe just a permanent thorn in Kraft's side. I mean, he is getting paid to do what he's doing, so who knows?
Yeah, that's true. He's getting paid to share his opinions these days, and so everybody's got one. But we joked about this when it happened too, right? Because we were like, how in the world is a guy that basically said so little in the media before going to be a member of the now
media?
Now in the media?
Now we're like, hey, shut up, Bill. Basically, is what a lot of folks are saying. Now that we actually have him on our TVs everywhere.
And on top of all that, what's the relationship between Belichick and Mayo now?
Yeah, now that Belichick just strikes me as a guy, hey, he's going to do everything to protect his legacy. And, whether or not he comes back and coaches and maybe try and gets that record next season, we'll see if that comes to pass. But it feels like, man, their relationship, if it was cozy coming into this season, certainly doesn't feel like it is anymore.
Doesn't feel very cozy at all. Absolutely. Our number one of Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, is in the books. When we come back to the Lee Company studios for hour number 2, we'll jump into the grab bag. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Dr. Vilay Saisuka, CEO and founder of Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee here in Murfreesboro. We offer foot and ankle care from ingrown toenails to diabetic foot wounds. We also fix ankle fractures and things like that.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Custom Stone Handler supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with River Stone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe that the measure of any person or company is how they treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's Wade Neely. Welcome into hour number 2 here from the Lee Company studios of our respective homes. Let's jump into the grab bag because there's a lot in there. Starting with the Lakers' 110-103 win over the Timberwolves to open their NBA season last night. And of course, that game marked the debut of Bronny James, the regular season, the official debut of Bronny James. He and Dad LeBron both came into the game together in the second quarter. And they were on the floor together, and that's about the extent of what you can say because Bronny was 0 for 2 from the floor, missing a potential assist for LeBron from behind the arc. That was the storybook thing that everybody wanted to see. I'm sure LeBron feeding Bronny for his first NBA points, but the three-pointer was off the mark. Again, Bronny went 0 for 2 in the game, had 1 rebound, but the Lakers did win. So there's that.
Yeah, we got LeBron got the photo op that he wanted. You got the second round pick late second round pick into the game, not only on the active roster, but got him into a game versus a playoff opponent last year. So in that sense, you kind of got everything you wanted. And then, yeah, everything else kind of got down to business because it was a pretty good win for the Lakers, all things considered. And Anthony Davis, the real star of the show last night for the Lakers, because so much so that he even tweeted out after the game. He said, "Hey, LeBron, I'm glad we could finally put together a win on these big moments, because every other big moment in LeBron's career, the career points mark and all these other highlight moments where they have to stop the game, the Lakers had ended up losing the game. So they actually were able to win one. They win their opener for the first time since 2016. All in all, it was a pretty good effort for the Lakers. First year head coach JJ Redick, who I think has unlocked something. Saw a lot of folks talking about this last night, that behind the scenes, everybody was excited to see what he's going to do with Anthony Davis, and AD was feasting last night. Minnesota did not look like the playoff team that we saw knock out the Nuggets last year.
Well, you take Cat out of the mix, and it's interesting the impact that has. I mean, you do have Julius Randle, but as we were talking to Ann Kimmel about the Predators, kind of reestablishing that chemistry will probably kind of be a work in progress for the T-Wolves going forward. But Bronny was a -5, by the way, in the 2.5 minutes that he played. So the Lakers kind of had to overcome him to get that win to open the NBA season. By the way, with Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. on hand. That was a father-son duo that kind of knew how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, everything about this was forced as all get out last night, but now we got it behind us, and now we can move on. We'll see how many minutes Bronny plays going forward. Like you said, he gets in this. I mean, his spot in the rotation, who knows how many minutes he'll really get as the year unfolds, because that's normally reserved for blowout territory. But you got the moment. Yeah, you got the Griffies going, ham, getting excited there. I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong. But it's been, everything about it has been forced from the jump. And I think that's where it sits with a lot of folks. And so maybe now that it's behind us, we'll see where we go from here.
Where we go from here is probably Bronny and Grayson Murphy being teammates at South Bay of the G League.
At some point, that's probably the destination for Mr. James.
Meanwhile, in 15 minutes off the bench, Dalton Connect, 5 points, a board, 2 assists. He was 2 of 4 from the floor, 1 of 3 from behind the arc, and a steal. So, and he was a +7 for those that keep up with that kind of thing.
Yeah, and he's going to have a chance really to work his way into the rotation. Reeves is, going to get obviously the lion's share of the minutes in that starting role. But if Connect can come in as the 6th man, really establish himself, they could be in pretty good shape with him with their first round pick.
You would like to think. In the other game last night, Boston knocked down 29 threes, tying a single-game NBA record, and blasted the visiting Knicks 132-109.
Crazy deal, right? And everybody was making the joke. We have Steve Kerr to blame for this because Tatum goes nuclear last night, and as a result of the snafu with the minutes in the Olympics. And I mentioned it on the show yesterday, the Celtics still feel slighted, even though they had one of the greater seasons in NBA history and won the championship last year. They're kind of out with a point to prove. They shot the lights out. I mean, the Knicks themselves shot nearly 60% from the floor and still got blown out. That's how cooking Boston was last night. I think the Knicks will probably, find their stride. But for one night only, Boston was the place to be last night.
Cat 12.7 rebounds in the loss for the Knicks. Speaking of, getting acclimated and finding that chemistry. We talked to Megan L. Hall a couple of days ago about the WNBA and some of the coaching moves that have been made since the end of the regular season. Well, the 4th non-playoff team fired its coach this morning as well. Eric Thibault has been dismissed by the Washington Mystics, along with his dad, GM Mike Thibault. So all four non-playoff teams, Washington, LA, Chicago, and Dallas, have fired their coaches, and the Atlanta Dream, that did make the playoffs but lost in the opening round, has fired their coach as well. So 5 of the established 12 teams will be going into the 2025 season with new coaches, in addition to the expansion Golden State team. So
crazy to think about, but it seems like the strategy for these teams that are not clearly already in the playoff contention or championship contention is, hey, you can turn around in a short order. Maybe all we need is a coach. Maybe all we need is a GM. Maybe we need both. But it feels like the roster turnaround, the blueprint is kind of out that you can do this within a season, maybe within 2 seasons for sure. And, with that being said, it seems like the coaches are getting very short strings in regards to success in terms of, maintaining their position going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you're not getting a whole lot of leeway necessarily. Now Mike Thibault, I guess, took over for his dad following the 2022 season, so he's been there 2 years as coach. Again, they missed the playoffs this past year, so there you go. It's
remember, they were there on the final night of the regular season. I mean, they were right in the thick of things.
They were right there in the mix, along with Atlanta and Chicago, I guess it was.
Yep.
Those 3 teams were kind of playing for the final spot, and ultimately that fell to Atlanta. So
yeah, I mean, it's obviously, you hate that somebody loses their job, but it does feel like, to me at least, the blueprint is you don't need a lot to turn your franchise around. It seems like these rebuilds are much quicker in the WNBA, especially considering the number of teams that are only in this league. So a chance to a free start can bear fruit rather quickly. And it seems like, whether rightly or wrongly, that's the strategy that a lot of teams are deploying. It also feels like, as we kind of usher into this new WNBA, kind of WNBA 2.0 in many regards, maybe the move is trying to set franchises up, maybe not even in this short rebuild, but hey, as the league continues to grow, we want to make sure we grow with it and posture ourselves for better positioning in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah. In Eric Thibault's second season this year, without Elena Delle Donne, who took a sabbatical, may or may not be back. Christy Tolliver retired, and they also lost free agent Natasha Cloud. They lost their first 12 games to open the season, 4th worst ever by a WNBA team. So that kind of put them behind the 8 ball, so to speak, from the get. And they will be rebuilding under new leadership here. So I wonder, with 5 coaching vacancies, I guess Golden State is glad that they kind of got out ahead of all this and got their coach already in place, because you would think it's going to be a little bit of a scramble. I don't know how many of these fired coaches resurface, or how many new head coaches come out of all this. It'll be intriguing to keep an eye on, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not super familiar with the timetable. I mean, are we talking somebody gets hired in 2 weeks, or, do we wait a couple months and grab somebody from the G League, or, grab somebody off an NBA staff? I mean, each franchise probably has their plan, presumably, but I don't know that we'll see some of these get filled immediately. And I'm like you, I'm curious to see where these head coaches end up as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned at the top of the show, you've got the Yankees and the Dodgers opening World Series play on Friday out at LA. This will be the 12th World Series meeting between those 2 franchises, the first since 1981, Fernando Valenzuela's rookie year. The Dodgers won that one. 12 times, or it will be 12 times, that these 2 have played each other in the World Series. I mean, that's just, and I think that's what everybody was so excited about when they kind of almost willed this matchup into existence.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's what's got me buzzing. I mean, as a casual baseball fan, this is the matchup that you want. You have the two kind of OGs going toe to toe yet again and duking it out. And hopefully we get a pretty good series. And luckily there's enough star power that it should probably deliver some pretty compelling theater. I'm anticipating a pretty good one. If it's a sweep, obviously the execs will kind of be disappointed. But you know, if you end up magically getting a 7-game thriller, this thing will be one of the all timers.
Yeah. Yeah. When they played the first time in 1941, it was a crosstown rivalry, basically, the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Yankees. And now it's a cross country rivalry. Again, they've played 11 times previously. The Yankees have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They won the first 5 before Brooklyn finally won in 1955. In 1956, you got Don Larson's perfect game as the Yankees won not game 2, but in game 5 of that one, and went on to win that series. So the Yankees have had the most success in this matchup. The Dodgers have had the more recent success, winning their second series in 63, sweeping the Yankees there. And again, in 1981 as well. So they have won, the Dodgers have won 3 of the previous 11 matchups. So, but like
feels like,
said,
I mean, yeah, they're going to be a small favorite as we talked about going into this series. And it feels like they have the more star-studded lineup. It feels like their pitching maybe you know, is a tad bit better suited for this series. And it'll be up to that Yankees lineup, especially obviously Judge and Stanton, to see if they can club their way to a World Series title.
Sure. Friend of the show, John Parado, is going to join us tomorrow to talk a little bit more about this series. He's got an article out where he agrees with us. He feels like the Dodgers are probably favored in this one as well, if I'm recalling right. But yeah, we're going to get his thoughts on this. He's been covering the Pirates all year, so I know he's excited to talk about some good baseball, and we look forward to getting him on tomorrow. So be sure and join us for that. We should probably take a break here, although I wanted to get into some college football. One thing I do want to mention, MTSU again plays at Jacksonville State tonight in a Conference USA matchup. You can see it at 6:30 on ESPN+. The Blue Raiders going for their second straight win after winning last Tuesday night against visiting Kennesaw State. And Jacksonville State, as Wade likes to say, is a wagon. So the Blue Raiders will definitely have their hands full tonight.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for the Blue Raiders tonight. Jacksonville State got off to a slow start versus some tough competition. But they have dreams of, you know, maybe winning Conference USA. And, you know, I talked about Hulk Hogan on the show yesterday. Jacksonville State's got Brock Rechtensteiner, who's the son of the legendary Scott Steiner, Big Papa Pump, or the Big Bad Booty Daddy. So he's been rocking the championship belt and the chains. They're kind of leaning into the role a little bit. It'd be nice to see MTSU go down and kind of quiet the crowd and Big Papa Pump down there a little bit.
It absolutely would be. One other thing that we want to mention, the Chattanooga Times Free Press and Stephen Hargis are reporting, Wade, your Giles County Bobcats won't have Alcoa to worry about as long as Giles County stays at 3A, because Alcoa, after winning 12 of the last 15 Class 3A state championships, is going up to 4A for the next TSSAA classification period from 2025 to 2029.
Yeah, crazy story. And I read that this morning, and everybody in Giles County is saying a big thank you, and everybody in Marshall County and in Pearl Cone's high school, Pearl Cone walls is saying, "Why us? Why us?" And that sound you hear is those schools looking to send some kids out the door and move down to 3A,
exactly.
or quickly to file over and try and expedite a move to 5A, because Alcoa means serious business. 4A is absolutely loaded. Already was, in my opinion, the toughest in all of the state of Tennessee, and now it's going to get even tougher with the tornadoes in there.
Yeah, no question. Let's take a break because we have our NASCAR analyst, Heather Williams, sitting in the green room, so to speak. She's waiting and chomping at the bit to talk a little NASCAR. So when we come back to Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, we'll do just that. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Riley, a certified physician associate here at Premier Foot and Ankle Centers of Tennessee. We have a couple locations, Murfreesboro, McMinnville, as well as Franklin. We treat people of all ages. We're excited to get you back on your feet and hope we can help you today.
Call us today to schedule an appointment. We look forward to seeing you.
Because here at Premier Foot and Ankle, we believe that
the journey begins with happy feet.
He shoots, and he scores!
Whether you're an athlete or a weekend warrior, when it comes to your performance, don't settle for anything less than excellence. We're proud to announce that Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint Clinic is now Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, where we are redefining sports medicine and orthopedics. Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance's team of expert sports medicine physicians understands the unique demands of your body. TOA Columbia specializes in personalized orthopedic care, offering state-of-the-art treatments for everything from sports injuries to joint replacements. Learn more at toacolumbia.com.
With Lee Company technology, the best handymen are hands-off. Lee Company techs have been using visual findings and other smart technology tools for years to add transparency and virtually take customers along. You see what we see, whether we're in a crawl space or on a roof. With Lee Company, technology helps us help you, no matter what's happening in the world or at your house.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, zioneagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's zioneagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
Wild and Wacky Wednesday continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. In the final segment of the show, Wade and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Right now, though, we're going to visit with Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City, talking a little NASCAR as the Cup Series playoffs continue, with Joey Logano's win out at Vegas this past weekend as he clinches a spot in the championship 4. And next up is Homestead. One of the final, I guess, the next to last race of the field of 8, right, Heather?
Yeah, third last race of this season. We have 2 races left in this round, and then the championship race in Phoenix. And Joey Logano, I mean, you want to talk about rising from the dead? It's like Halloween. It's the perfect time. He was eliminated at the Charlotte Roval. Got back in the playoffs because Alex Bowman was disqualified. Then he goes out and wins and puts himself in the championship 4. It's pretty incredible,
to say the least. I mean, to your point, kind of rising from the dead there, I guess, and picking up that win, finishing ahead of Christopher Bell and our favorites here at Main Street Sports today. Trackhouse Racing's Daniel Suarez was third.
So are you going to stick with Trackhouse now that your boy is not there anymore?
Who is that?
Your Tennessee boy.
Oh, is he not?
Yeah, he's at Colleague Racing now.
He's at where?
Colleague Racing.
Colleague.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
That is.
Who are their drivers? We've become a little attached to Chastain and Suarez, though. So
Trackhouse Racing is headquartered in Nashville, and they are sponsored by Tootsie, so there's certainly still a connection. But no, he's at Colleague, which next year their drivers this year is Daniel Hamrick, and then they have a part-time car that they circle a bunch of drivers through. Next year, it's going to be Shane Van Gisbergen and AJ Allmendinger. And who's the third driver? Well, I forget who's in the third car. I'll have to think about it. But those are the two of them.
Ty Norris is who you were referring to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, he's at Colleague now.
Did not realize he had moved, but like I said, we've become a little attached to Suarez. And
there's still a mid-state connection, so you're
absolutely good. Well, there's always a Nashville connection. Always, yeah. So, aside from Logano getting into the final 8 on a humble, were you surprised at his performance out of Vegas this weekend?
I don't know if I was surprised. I mean, he's a 2-time champ, right? He can perform whenever he needs to. They just haven't been able to quite find this gear this season. But in the playoffs, he's been quite good. And that's when you need to be good. You just need to get in and then be good. It's kind of like I love bringing up Chiefs references, but it's kind of like the Chiefs last year, right? They did not have a great season. They were great when the playoffs started. Joey Logano's the same way. He did not have a great regular season, but when the playoffs started, all of a sudden he's run pretty well. And he's gotten a little bit of luck by the disqualification of Alex Bowman as well.
You need a little luck.
You need a lot of luck. You need to be good and you need to be lucky. I mean, again, I could reference back my Chiefs. We're undefeated.
Okay, settle down.
We lost all of our receivers.
Ha!
And then today, the Titans gave us a gift.
Christmas cards, send our way to Nashville, please.
Absolutely.
Be happy to.
We will be accepting thanks for today's move for sure. Yeah.
Hey, I want real quick. What has Logano said about all this? Is he walking around, realizing that he's got this new lease on life? Does he feel like he's living in a semi-charmed kind, right now, or what's going on? What's going through his mind, or what has he said publicly?
I mean, yes and no. I'm going to get a chance to talk to him tomorrow, so I'll have a better idea. But from what the bits and pieces that I've heard, I mean, they're a good team. Like, they feel like they have just as right to be there as anyone else. And, they advanced because the other team was not legal. So, I mean, they have earned their spot to be there. And he's the kind of driver and the kind of team that when the stakes are high, he's very, very good. I mean, there was a time when NASCAR was adding new tracks and new formats and things that he won like everything. Like, he won the first Coliseum race. He won the first Bristol Dirt race. He's won the second race at North Wilkesboro. He really wanted to win the first one. But on the second race back at North Wilkesboro, when there's something big on the line, he's very good. So I don't think they're surprised at all. And his crew chief, who I think I heard became the most winning active crew chief in the garage. is very, very good, especially these fuel mileage things. That's why he won this weekend. That's why he won at Nashville, because his crew chief is one of the best in the garage. So I think that everybody's in a little bit of trouble because they've given him him and his incredibly smart crew chief a 2-week jump on Homestead, right? They don't have to worry about how they perform or not Homestead. Sorry, I'm Phoenix. They don't have to worry about how they perform at Homestead. They don't have to worry how they perform in Martinsville because those races don't matter. They mean absolutely nothing. There are no bonus points, nothing that carries over to the championship for. All he has to do is run one lap at both those races. So they're already working on their Phoenix car. They're already working on their strategy for Phoenix, and they've got a 2-week jump on everybody else, and that makes him dangerous.
Zombie Logano is a dangerous Logano, you're saying?
Very much so. Very much so, because he's been there, done that, right? He's got 2 titles. He knows how to get it done.
Performing at a high level. And yeah, I mean, it also sounds like he's got the clutch gene going on as well. Mahomes-esque, to use your phrase.
A little bit for sure. He's definitely confident, right? I mean, and that's a big part of it, right? You have to believe that you are the man. I mean, and all of these drivers in the championship 8 or in the final 8 believe they're the man. They believe they're Cup Series champions, or they wouldn't be where they are. But Logano's got a little extra swag, I feel like, on a lot of these guys. I mean, there are probably a handful of guys that are on his level of confidence and swagger. Him, see, like, I don't think Kyle Busch has that right now. He did at one point. I don't think he has. I think Denny Hamlin has it, even though his clutch gene isn't necessarily there because he hasn't won a championship. I think that obviously Kyle Larson has it. I mean, that guy is the only person that can be Kyle Larson is Kyle Larson. But he's just, I don't know. I don't think he's the most talented driver. He would probably tell you he's not the most talented driver. But he might be the most driven. He works very hard, and when he wants to win something, that's why he won all these firsts, because he really put his mind to winning those things. When he wants to do it, he very rarely doesn't get it done.
Heather Williams of WCYB TV joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, as we talk a little NASCAR. So next up is Homestead. What are you expecting out of there?
Homestead is pretty close to one of the most perfect tracks out there, especially for a 1.5 mile intermediate type track. It was good. It was the only one of those tracks that was good in the Gen 6 car. Most of those races were terrible, but Homestead was really good. And obviously in the next gen era, Gen 7 car era, it's good because those are the best tracks. I expect this to be a really entertaining race. There are all 4 drivers below the cut line are almost in desperation mode because the gap is so big. I think it's minus 27 or something back to Denny Hamlin, who's in 5th, which is pretty close to needing to win. You certainly need to take a big chunk out of that at Homestead if you want to have a chance at Martinsville beyond just winning the race. So I think you will see those guys below the cut line currently really desperate, racing really hard for every position and every point. And at Homestead, you can get a lot of points because if you qualify well, you could stay up front all day once you have track position and get those stage points. You don't have to worry about flipping stages or some of the things you've had to do at some of these other tracks. So I think this could be a really, really good race in a year where there have been a lot of really good races. So I expect it to be very entertaining this weekend.
Harder track to win at, Homestead or Martinsville?
Oh, probably Martinsville, but more guys are good at short tracks because most of the guys started out racing on the short tracks. So Martinsville is it's harder to pass there. It's more demanding of a racetrack on your physical and mental because of being a short track. Mm-hmm. But there are probably, I would say, all the guys in that championship 8 are capable of winning there because of their backgrounds. Like they all started on short tracks. They're very accomplished short track drivers. And so I think that they are those that don't win, whoever doesn't win at Miami or doesn't lock themselves in at Homestead, Miami, they're going to go to Martinsville with a lot of confidence thinking they can win because most of them have. Hamlin's won there. Blaney's won there. Chase Elliott's won there. Christopher Bell's won there. William Byron's won there. So they all have that confidence that they can get it done there.
Okay. Heather, talk to us a little bit about the news that Dale Earnhardt is stepping back into a car in a competitive situation.
Well, he's never been out of it. He's just going back to run short, like his racing series, like the late model racing series, which he's done on and off. He owns the series. He's done on and off. He's also done some NASCAR races. He's done 1 or 2 Xfinity Series races a year, which he says he's not racing any NASCAR level races next year at all. He said Bristol was his last race for now. He may in a couple years decide to come back, but he's not going to do any next year for sure. And I think he just likes the freeness, the less stress or pressure or, not competitiveness because it's super competitive, but it's fun, right? It's hobby racing. It's not professional racing per se. It's more hobby racing. Now, there are certainly, especially the young kids coming up through there, people that want to be professional drivers in late models, but he's not, for him, it's just a hobby. It's a series where it can be a hobby. So I think that's what makes it very attractive to him.
It's a hobby for him. Is truck racing a hobby for Frankie Muniz?
No, Frankie wants to get to the Cup Series. It's interesting because he's a little old for guys that are trying to make it. He ran full-time ARCA 2 years ago. He hasn't had a full-time ride this year. He's been in and out of a few cars in the Xfinity Series and Truck Series and ARCA Series, kind of just patchworking a season together. When he ran the full series a couple years ago, he was okay. I think he was a top 10 car. But generally speaking, guys that are going to be successful on the big time level are really top 3 cars in that series, top 2 cars in that series, maybe top 5. So, and part of that is equipment, right? I don't really know much about the ARCA team that he had and what their equipment was like. So he is in a pretty stable Truck Series ride. I don't think it's the best equipment in the garage, but we'll see how he does in this situation. Also, guys perform different in different series. Some, Jimmy Johnson was not good in the Xfinity Series, which is the second series, but he won 7 championships in the Cup Series, which is the top series. So different cars / trucks fit people's driving style a little bit better. So you could also say that about Jimmy. He got into Indy cars and he was terrible, right? The Cup Series cars just fit him. So we'll see. It's interesting. But he's very, very serious about wanting to try to get to the Cup Series.
Are there any other celebrities that want to moonlight as drivers? And if not, maybe who in your mind would be a good celebrity driver, Heather?
So I think Keanu Reeves was playing around out at Indy not too long ago. I don't know how serious he is about wanting to drive, but I think he was out testing some cars for sure. That's an interesting question. What celebrities would be a good driver?
We love a good crossover, so that would be good too. I'm trying to visualize that.
I think that somebody like one of the Marvel stars, because you kind of have to have that superhero attitude to jump in a car. So one of those guys, but I don't watch those movies enough to actually know what their actual names are.
Producer Mark said Tom Cruise. I'm curious, it's been a long time. I was a kid when that movie came out. I mean, how many rides has he really taken recently, you think?
Recently, I think he's been at the track within the last couple of years, and I think he does ride-longs, but he's too old. Come on, he's my age.
I'm not going to make a joke about having to scoot the seat up to reach the pedals. I could.
Why? He might have to scoot it back. Have you seen Kyle Larson?
He's shorter than Tom.
Kyle Larson and I look each other in the eye, and I'm 5'3".
Oh wow!
Even that's close. He might be an inch taller than Tom. Then I think.
I think Tom Cruise is taller than Kyle Larson, and definitely Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick is the shortest guy in the garage.
Interesting.
And I think Tyler is 5'5".
See, that's why we have Heather Williams on the show to bring us.
How tall is Kyle? How tall is Bush? Then I'm thinking because we're friends with his gas man, Justin White, and I'm just curious about that height discrepancy there. He's
Kyle Bush.
Yeah, sorry.
Kyle Bush is around 6 foot or 6'1". He's one of the taller guys in the garage.
Yeah, so that's decent because Justin's a huge guy, and so I always that'd be a great visual to think about Larson and him if they ended up on the same team.
Yeah, I think the tallest guy in the garage is Austin Cindric. I think he's around 6'2" or 6'3". His dad is actually the primary guy for Penske Racing's IndyCar team, and Austin grew up wanting to run Indy cars, but couldn't because he was too tall. That's how he ended up in stock cars, because he was too tall to fit inside of those cockpits for the Indy cars are small. Joseph Newgarden from Nashville is one of the tallest IndyCar drivers you'll see. And I think he's just under 6 foot. So at 6'3", he had no chance. So that's how he ended up in Cup Series, because you just have to be a smaller guy.
He'd be driving, have his knees out. Trying to go around.
Mike hurt the aerodynamics.
Yeah, absolutely.
Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City joining us here on Main Street Sports today, talking a little NASCAR, getting you ready for Homestead and the next to last playoff race before the championship out at Phoenix. So, Heather, we appreciate it and enjoy DeAndre Hopkins and the new lease on life. And I mean, it's crazy because we've talked about this earlier in the show. The Chiefs are undefeated, but Mahomes is having his worst season in a minute.
Yeah, but so if you had to throw to McCole Hardman, Sky Moore, and rookie Xavier Worthy were your top 3 receivers, you'd be having a terrible season too. The fact that they're undefeated is nothing short of a miracle. But the thing that is so funny to me, and I'm sure as a as Titans fans, you feel this, how the league just keeps letting us get away with getting these players as we need them, right? Because we needed a receiver, and poof, here's a top shelf receiver for us. Our running back is injured. Oh, here's a running back sitting here on the bench with not signed with the team, who then goes out and puts up back-to-back 100-yard rushing games, right? Juju Smith-Schuster was sitting there unsigned. Now he's injured. He'll be back probably in a week or two, so he's not out for the season like the other top receivers, 2 top receivers are. But there's just people just keep, it's like Christmas constantly. I mean, I enjoy it, but it's crazy that the league just keeps letting that happen.
We talked about that.
Yeah, we mentioned that a couple times, and you got Hunt, but Mahomes is having maybe his worst season as a passer thus far, but he may be having his best season as a rusher thus far, because that's kind of what he's been reduced to at times. He had that real magic on Sunday.
Well, I think the thing with Mahomes as a passer, now he did overshoot Xavier Worthy on a terrible throw in Sunday's game, but he's been very lucky over his career of a lot of interceptable balls either getting dropped or taking crazy bounces or whatever. These years when they're getting popped, this year and last year too, when those balls get popped in the air or batted down at the line of scrimmage, they're ending up in people's hands. That doesn't always happen. So the interception numbers and the passing numbers are a little deceiving because he's been a little unlucky. Now, he was very much on the other side of that early in his career, so it might just be luck kind of evening out with him. But really, there's not that much different with him except for the caliber of receivers. When you have not good receivers, balls bouncing off of people's hands and popping in the air and stuff happens more often, and that makes balls be available to be intercepted. I'm not really worried about Patrick Mahomes at this point in the season. I think we'll keep him. I think we're good. I am a little worried about Travis Kelce, though, because he does not look good.
Yeah, what's the deal there? I mean,
He's
even
old.
on some of the even on the check downs, Mahomes is kind of looking past him, trying to go for the bigger play.
Well, I think right now, I think the last couple of games he's being double teamed. I mean, because he's the only guy of all the names that I mentioned, the guys that are playing, he's the only one that on reputation strikes fear in you, right? You're not scared of McCole Hardman or Sky Moore. Sky Moore, why he's even on the team confounds me. But so, I mean, I think he's getting a lot of attention because when they bring Noah Gray out and run Noah in that same role as Kelsey or in a 2 or 3 tight end set, Noah's been very effective. He had a great
and
game last week.
Watson's been a decent option as well in that regard.
Right. So I just think that there's so much focus on Travis, but there have been a few times when Travis has been open and he hasn't been able to get the ball, or there have been times where Mahomes has looked for him and he hasn't been able to get open. But he is like 34 years old. I mean, he's getting up there.
He had that nice out and up last Sunday, and even though the connection didn't happen, Mahomes just missed him. He still kind of showed that he can turn on the gas when he needs
He's still
to.
He's still a very good.
Like the Chiefs, it almost feels like the Chiefs are just kind of dialing him back and then inevitably he's going to crank up in either the second half of the season or the playoffs.
I also think he might just be running decoy for these horrible receivers so that they can be wide open.
Also, hey, the only way they can catch it is if they're wide open. How do they get wide open? But yeah, decoying with Kelsey may be onto something.
But I am still a little concerned. I spent a lot of money last week on my fantasy team on him and in my DraftKings league, and he got me like 4 points.
We got an upset general manager. Heather Williams of WCYB TV out of Johnson City talking NASCAR and Kansas City Chiefs. Heather, we appreciate it.
Yeah, fun as always, guys.
Thanks. When we come back to the Lee Company studios here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, it's the final segment of the day. It is Wednesday. That means it's time for Wild and Wacky. Wade and I will bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news from across the globe. Stay tuned after this.
So, you want to be a part of the Busy Bee team, huh? Well, how do you see yourself fitting into the organization? Oh, I get it. You want to be a weather bee.
Do you want to be a bad man? Yes, you do. Do you want to taste sweet salvation underneath the summer moon? Do you need another hand now? Yes, you do. Go see Miss Josie down on Columbus Avenue. All right, Columbus Avenue.
It is time for a Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today, as we have scoured the globe to bring you the weirdest, wildest, and wackiest news. And let's start in Dusseldorf, Germany, where there is a pizzeria that if you order number 40, you not only get a pie, but you get a side of cocaine, or you got a side of cocaine until police caught on. 150 officers busted a drug ring in Western Germany, arresting 3 suspects, including the 22-year-old head of the operation. They came up with 3.5 pounds of coke, 400 grams of weed, and more than $250,000, 268 euros, which is 290,378 US dollars in cash. Yeah. if customers asked for item number 40, which was one of the best-selling pizzas at this particular establishment, apparently.
Imagine that.
Go figure. Police initially received a tip from suspicious food inspectors back in March. Drug squad officers began observing the restaurant and figured it out. When police went to the apartment of the pizzeria's manager, he threw a bag of drugs out the window, which, quote, fell right into the arms of the police officers. That's not great timing.
No.
But apparently, okay, so he was arrested. He was released. He reopened the business and he restarted selling order number 40 yet again, which led to another arrest during which they found 360 marijuana plants, cutting and stabbing weapons, cash, and expensive watches. The manager was arrested when he tried to flee abroad and remains in custody, which means that I guess order number 40 is no longer available. We're sold out.
Yeah, sold out. But do you order was it just number 40, or is it 40? But is it like In and Out style? I want the 40 with extra cheese. Wink, wink. I mean, how did that play out? Is what I'm wondering. And this 22-year-old, got a lot of work to do as far as being a criminal mastermind. It seems like.
He was so close. Apparently, we will continue the shenanigans at the international level. Last week, a judge in northern Greece imposed a 1-month prison sentence against a man who had been convicted of repeatedly, there we go, sneaking into his neighbors' properties to smell their shoes. Smell their shoes.
Presumably not new shoes.
That would be my guess. Unable to explain his behavior, which had caused him great embarrassment. No intention of breaking the law or harming anyone. Neighbors testified that he never displayed any sign of aggression during his nocturnal visits. Police found him in a neighbor's front yard sniffing that neighbor's family's shoes that had been left outdoors to air. This was the 4th such incident in the past 6 months. In addition to the 1-month prison sentence that was suspended, the man was ordered to attend therapy sessions. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. That's a bad situation. If it were new shoes, I might be okay with this. When you get that new drop from StockX and you get a new pair of Jordans that comes in, I mean, I'm getting a big old whiff in there. I mean, I'm doing it every that pile of shoes that producer Mark popped up a moment ago. Nah, I'm probably good on not sniffing those.
I'm not sniffing anybody's shoes, including my own. But at any rate, staying overseas. If you are being dropped off at the Dunedin, New Zealand airport, hug and go. There are posted signs limiting goodbye to 3 minutes in the drop-off area. So get in, say your goodbyes, get out, and get moving. The cuddle cap was imposed last month to keep things moving smoothly in the redesigned passenger drop-off area outside the airport. And the signs are the airport's way of reminding people that the zone was for quick farewells only. We were accused of breaching basic human rights, and how dare we limit how long someone can have a hug for? Come on now. This is the sad thing is that somebody had to be told that. I mean, get in, get out. It seems pretty.
I get you want to keep the traffic moving, but you know what's got me? I mean, New Zealand is an island. I mean, and there ain't no short flights from New Zealand. The shortest one's probably in Australia.
You're going to be gone a while, is what you're saying, huh?
Yeah. If anything, they need to extend that to, a minimum should be a 3-minute hug. I mean, you should be extending that to closer to 10 minutes because that person's about to be on a plane for at least 12 hours, no matter where they're going. Yeah.
That's a good point. That's a good point. This has some international tones, but it took place domestically. A cat native to Africa and Asia, a caracal, C-A-R-A-C-A-L, caracal, again, native to Africa and parts of Asia, was recently captured roaming around in a Chicago suburb.
Ooh.
Yeah, exactly. It's a cat, but it's got these pointed ears, and it's a little sinister looking. Supposedly they prey on rodents, other small mammals, and birds, but I don't think I'd want to run up on one. Native to Africa, the Middle East, Central Asia, and India, and nobody seems to know how the caracal got to Hoffman Estates on the Chicago suburb outskirts.
Yeah, that was like a bobcat almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to run up on one of those unexpectedly. So take the caracal and go. This woman took photos of the cat in her backyard. Then it starts coming up on my deck, jumped on my deck, actually looked at me through the window. Yeah. Apparently it was captured and taken to an animal sanctuary in Wisconsin, where it will have a healthy and happy life far away from Hoffman Estates. That's a good thing. Finally, we are a week away from Halloween. I don't know if anybody wants to carve a 1 1/4 ton pumpkin or not, but one just won a contest in California. 2,471 pound pumpkin, winning the 51st World Championship pumpkin weigh-off in Half Moon Bay, just south of San Francisco. This guy from Minnesota, a horticulture teacher in Minnesota, Travis Ginger, won the competition by 6 pounds. He has won it each of the last 4 years. Last year,
that is a big pumpkin.
Last year, his pumpkin set a world record, 2,749 pounds. So he was a little disappointed this year. He came in almost 300 pounds short of the record, but again, won by 6 pounds. That's amazing to me. Drove 35 hours from Minnesota to California with a 2,500 pound pumpkin on the back of his truck.
Some serious PEDs going on with that pumpkin enhancing drugs to get that thing going.
How do you do that? What does that look like out in the pumpkin patch? That is the pumpkin patch, isn't it? I mean,
that's the whole. That's the whole patch. You're right.
The entire patch, right there. Absolutely. That's going to do it for Wild and Wacky Wednesday here on Main Street Sports Today. That's going to do it for Main Street Sports Today. We will see y'all here tomorrow afternoon at 2:00. Oh, be sure, come back at 5 to check out the Southern Middle Tennessee High School football show. Wade and I doing double duty. Tomorrow, though, we will be joined by Christ Presbyterian football coach Engel Martin, and again, John Parado talking World Series. So, see y'all tomorrow.